Welcome to Tara and Friends Unedited. It's been so many months since we had a chance to just talk, you and I, instead of with guests, even though I love having the guests on the show. And I've realized with Thanksgiving approaching and this being a season of gratitude that I would like a chance to just be able to share some of my gratitude and some of the things that have been going on in the past year since we've been filming. Or maybe it's a year and a half now. At any rate, it's been months since we had this time together. So I thought in this short time that we might share some quotations by other people that have wisdom that apply to us today, and just have a little reflective time about our past year's adventure and the ways in which we have pursued wellness and allowed wellness to influence every aspect of our lives, or not. And maybe we can start in some new area today. I'm going to start with a quotation by Buddha, and this quotation applies to our need, well, how it's healthier for us to let go of the need to be in control. And this quotation, I think, is quite powerful. Do not pursue the past. Do not lose yourself in the future. The past no longer is. The future is yet to come. Look deeply at life as it is, in the very here and now, dwelling in stability and freedom. Now, I think that that's a good starting place for our discussion today, and there's just so much to talk about. When I think about this past year, it has been a year of adventure. Some of you who have been following this show remember days when I've sat here in time of great grief and mourning, and I myself, going through that, thought that I wouldn't feel better or see a better day. And as with all the cycles of our lives and our world, we know, of course, that things do come around and shift and change, and that there is abundance, and that we don't sustain living in that place of darkness and fear or extreme grief indefinitely. We're always reaching for a change, reaching for some hope, some freedom, some joy. In this quotation from the Simple Abundance Companion, and this might be from another reading called The Sacred Adventure, I think you can relate to this. Both authenticity and adventure require a point of departure, the willingness to shed what's safe and predictable in order to embrace the new, people, places, predicaments, pleasures, and passions, your new authentic life. And that's really something that I would say I keep coming back to for myself this year, that realization that our fullest, truest life experience here can only start with us being connected to ourself, knowing ourself. And my personal belief system is that we can't know ourself fully unless we realize that we can't be separated from the source that created us, that we are connected to a source energy that allows us to more fully experience and co-create our experience here in this world. But I can certainly attest to the truth of this quotation about embracing new people, places, predicaments, pleasures, and passions. And even the predicaments, things that I in my past would have thought of as a mistake or an unfortunate event, don't need to be viewed through that lens, that we can really choose to see even a situation that some would say is negative. We can choose to view that situation that we're in from a place of abundance and trust, and letting go of the judgment that we bring to our own predicaments by saying, oh, this isn't a mistake, this isn't a bad thing or a bad place or any moral judgment. This is where I am right now in order for me to learn and grow from this experience. So this very thing that could be viewed negatively instead becomes a positive opportunity for growth and experience. So all of this, for me, hinges around the idea of knowing oneself if we can know who we are, where we are right now, then we can move forward. Like the quotation by Buddha, we don't need to dwell in the past, it's irrelevant. We don't need the history, we don't need to hear the story over and over of where we have been stuck or why, but rather, who are we right now in this moment, and what do we want? How do we want to get there? So when we're considering wellness, as usually my shows do hold to that theme of connection and community leading us to a place of deeper wellness. But when we consider wellness, I think that opportunities for wellness exist all around us. And when I reevaluate my life over the past year, I see that in some ways I have strayed from where I was on my wellness journey last year. For instance, in matters of diet and exercise, I'm finding it increasingly difficult to really be living in the present where I would hope that I would be in those issues. And then in other areas, I find that I've made some progress, and that when it comes to self-judging or judging others, that there's a little more space now for wellness and finding peace within myself, and recognizing and appreciating the opportunities that arise for us in connection. So I started to make a list because for me that's a helpful practice on my wellness journey, to remind myself, especially if it's a time when I'm feeling discouraged or having some, maybe even physical exhaustion or feeling emotionally drained. Sometimes it's helpful to reverse that by taking a pen and paper and making a list of things that we're grateful for. And my list, I guess I could be here for days naming specific names of individuals and opportunities and things in our world that I'm grateful for. But I made some broad categories to share with you. I'm grateful for hope, imagination, and dreams, which allow me to get to the next place that I hope to be, even if I'm, stuck in a rut. I can, through hope and imagination and my own dreams, I can reach for something higher. For new friends who really truly know me and value me, who choose to be with me and accept all of me, not just on their terms or conditions. New boundaries. This was a huge one for me over this past year. I've had some wonderful opportunities for establishing new boundaries and recognizing my own value, and that I deserve to be treated with respect, and the same respect that I treat other people with. And new work. And this has been quite an exciting time. Over the past maybe even just 6 months, I've had a lot of clarity about the kind of work I want to be doing, work that involves promoting wellness for all people, no matter what that wellness might look like for the individual, collaborating with organizations and individuals who are also promoting wealth in our community as well as in their own personal lives. So I've had some exciting opportunities to work with community projects on promoting physical health, emotional health, sexual health, spiritual health. And I'm very excited and fulfilled by this alignment that I've found between why I think I'm here on earth and the kind of work that I'm able to contribute to society right now. And clarity. And this point, I think a lot of times we feel stuck and just needing that clarity. And one thing that's happened for me recently is, even when there's a frustrating situation, something that in the past I would have dwelt on and been sort of consumed by trying to fix and control, now I'm able to just say, oh, thank you. Thank you to the person who offended or the situation that is overwhelming, because it provides for me a clarity about what I do and don't want and where I want to go with my own life and my own work. So that has been an amazing gift, that ability. And it's tied in really with some other lessons that I've learned, some new concepts. Forgiveness, I've heard many thousands of times being preached and taught, and there's always been a certain level of confusion about the way that forgiveness has been presented, and sometimes it can be almost used in a manipulative way. And I've had some clarity this just recently by hearing that the term forgiveness can also mean to accept, to be accepting of the situation, to not have to forget it or say it was all right, but to just say, that's something that I'm going to accept, that I couldn't change, and come to terms with that. And in letting go of that resistance, in accepting, then I'm able to move forward in my quest for my own personal well-being, which is, I think, finding peace, personal peace. And as we've talked before on this show, I think maybe the last time that we talked together, just us, I think it might have been May even, when I did the show on silence and the spaces between, and that it's really only through silence and that time that we take to know ourselves and connect with ourselves and our source that allow us to find true peace. And of course, until we find that true peace inside, we really don't have that much to offer others in the way of peacemaking either. So there's been that new concept of peace and forgiveness, and I thought you might enjoy hearing this. I believe it's a repeat for me, but it never hurts to hear wonderful bits of wisdom more than once. This is entitled Peace, and it is taken from a book called Inviting Silence. And it's a wonderful book by Gunilla Norris, if I'm pronouncing the first name correctly. Peace is not absence of strife. Peace is acceptance and surrender to that which is. Peace is the profound awareness of the one true source from which all things emerge and to which all things return. However lost we may feel, we are never outside of the source. We are intimately known by it, sustained by it, and return to it daily, now, and when we pass away. The source delights in us, becomes in us, plays in us. When we contact the source, our practice has led us to the end and to the beginning. Then we can be at peace, for no matter what occurs in our lives, we can always find our way home to the core, the truth of our being. That's powerful. I wish that I had time to read that again 5 more times. That's an amazing reminder for me, and coming home to that core of our being and connecting with ourselves. So in addition to this new concept of peace and forgiveness, and part of that concept of peace too was learning recently that the word wholeness or peace and wholeness are synonymous. So when people say shalom, it's not just peace, it's the concept of wholeness, and that holistic focus on well-being is certainly very relevant to me and my life work. Another really exciting concept that I've been able to consider this past year is how important it is to have life-affirming communication as opposed to life-alienating communication. And this could be a whole separate show, and many of you know, are familiar with Martha Stockwell Goring, who has been on several shows with me. And she certainly has helped to expand my world in regard to nonviolent communication and practicing compassionate communication and shifting